Reporting for the InterMountain Christian News, I'm Dr. Anthony Harper here at the White House. In press meetings today with Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, the big issues about the White House, the Biden administration being very upset about recent Supreme Court decisions. Now, the Secretary of Education was here to talk about how he was upset, not very happy, and didn't agree with the Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court actually was referenced to as not a normal court. I know that some of our audience would say that the administration at the White House is not a normal administration, but on the matters of the Supreme Court decisions regarding religious freedom issue, and that is the big issues, of course, of the Supreme Court that they really didn't touch on about as much, and the press secretary refused to take my question here regarding our Christian audience concerned about what the Biden administration is doing to protect religious freedom. Now, the Supreme Court recently came out with decisions to protect the Christian website designer in Colorado, so that she would not have to do website designs for LGBTQ websites or for LGBTQ issues. But there also issue has been the Supreme Court decision about the postal worker in Georgia that did not want to work on Sunday. That was his Sabbath, so they protected his right not to have to work on Sunday. Now, other Supreme Court decisions also came out regarding affirmative action. That was addressed here in the White House press briefing, along with the student loan issues a lot, and that is with the affirmative action about discrimination that was happening. The Supreme Court said by colleges preferring certain races in the consideration of their applications to schools. Now there's so many challenging issues. This was a very upsetting day for the White House on several fronts regarding these recent Supreme Court decisions. So back to the press meeting today, I yelled out my question at the end. Other reporters were yelling out a question, but I yelled out a question about asking the press secretary, why aren't you taking our Christian publication questions? And hopefully you'll be able to hear that in a video from the White House if my question was loud enough. But that's such a very key issue, very troublesome issue for this administration, the press secretary not to take our Christian and Jewish audience questions. In contrast, the previous press secretary, Jennifer Psaki, she did finally take two of my questions regarding Israel and anti-Semitism issues. So back again against the Supreme Court decisions here recently, a big upset for the White House, and the Secretary of Education was here to talk about a plan to try to circumvent, it seemed, the Supreme Court decision by making it easier for student loan borrowers to be able to either not have any payment or reduce payments or fast track to avoid high interest. They were very critical about the colleges and other businesses that were taking advantage of people with high interest issues. So they were actively pursuing, that was mentioned in the Secretary of Education today, they're actively pursuing trying to give relief to the student borrowers. So hopefully they'll address the issues of protecting religious freedom on behalf of a lot of Christian and Jewish people. At the onset of the press meeting, the press secretary was talking about how Supreme Court decisions were impacting the LGBTQ community and being a disadvantage for them. But the disadvantage for our Christian audience more sees the disadvantage for Christians and Jewish people.